Before we jump into today's episode, here's a quick reminder. If you enjoy Realm News and want to keep the show going, consider joining the community at patreon.com/Realm News. You'll get early access, exclusive bonus content, and a behind-the-scenes look at everything happening at Realm News. Your support helps make every episode possible. Patreon.com/Realm News. Now let's get into the show. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to a brand new week at Realm News Flash. I am your host, the Dark Lord, the one who puts the real in realm and expands your mind one block at a time. This week, I take you on the peripheries of Minecraft, the outer edge, if you will. There are some big changes taking place in the gaming world, and it's coming from a government level. Today, I will be discussing the dispute between the Entertainment Software Association and the campaign called Stop Killing Games Initiative, along with its effects. I will not be discussing anything else in this week's due to holiday weekend, the 4th of July, and time was of the essence. To me, this was one of the biggest stories anyways. And folks, before we start the show, go sign up to Realm News' Patreon so you can hear my opinion piece over this episode. You have to wait to the end of this episode and I'll go right into it. But if you're not signed up to Patreon, then you won't get to hear that. If you are a member, it's easy to sign up. Just go to patreon.com/Realm News and just, I think, provide your email address and that's it. With that said, folks, let's begin this week's show. June 30th, 2026, I was scrolling Twitter, now X, where I initially came across a breaking story made by @Dexerto. @Dexerto tweeted this, quote, Minecraft and Call of Duty community servers have been branded illegal and compared to the quote-unquote black market by the Entertainment Software Association. The comments came during a debate over preserving games after official servers shut down, end quote. Of course, I had to investigate further because community servers are an integral part of Minecraft. This entire debacle starts with an organization called Stop Killing Games, or SKG, or what I'll refer to as SKG for short, is pushing the California Assembly Bill 1921, otherwise known as the Protect Our Games Act. Democratic lawmaker Chris Ward, who represents the California State Assembly, representing the 78th District, which encompasses part of San Diego, is the person spearheading this bill. But what exactly is the bill, and who is Stop Killing Games? That is important to know before we go further into the matter. Let me start with Stop Killing Games. According to the source itself, StopKillingGames.com, about the initiative page, states, quote, we are a global coalition of gamers, consumer advocates, and developers pushing for international legal protections. Video games are increasingly being designed to require central servers to function, even for single-player content. When publishers decide to shut those servers down, the games are destroyed entirely. We argue this practice is a violation of consumer rights. If you purchase a good, it shouldn't self-destruct. We are launching formal petitions, exploring class action lawsuits, and engaging with lawmakers worldwide to end the intentional destruction of our digital media, end quote. Under that statement, it appears that the initiative is driven by three core motivators: preservation, consumer rights, legal actions. SKG defines these three legs as 1. Preservation, which is games are art and have grown into a huge influence on our society. Deliberately rendering them unplayable is the destruction of cultural heritage. 2. Consumer rights. When you buy a copy of a game, you should own it. It shouldn't come with an artificial expiration date decided by corporate profit margins. And 3. Legal actions. Our efforts go beyond complaining. We are organizing legal challenges across the EU, US, and more regions to enforce existing laws. SKG has a core team of 4 individuals that are worth noting. Ross Scott is the founder and public face, creator of Accursed Farms, starting the global initiative against video game destruction, Stop Killing Games. Then we have Moritz Katzner, the General Director, European Affairs and U.S. Advisory, who oversees SKG's advocacy and engagement with European lawmakers and leads the organization's wider political and institutional strategy across the globe. Then we have Jonah Goldman, the Director of U.S. Advocacy and Community Engagement, who leads U.S.-based advocacy, community organization, and outreach to American lawmakers. Finally, we have Clemens Istel, who's the lead in Does It Play, SKG's physical counterpart, and also as part of the broader movement. That's who that person, what they do. And here's a little history on SKG. Now that we have the figureheads behind SKG, allow me to tell you a brief history of this initiative to better understand it. According to wikipedia.org, SKG started in 2024 by Ross Scott in response to the shutdown of Ubisoft's The Crew, a 2014 racing game that required a constant internet connection, despite being mainly single player. Ubisoft's The Crew is a whole separate story that I will not be diving into today. That's for another podcast. I just want to provide an overview to SKG. However, Ross Scott is worth mentioning. Ross Scott is a YouTuber known for his machinima-style videos called Freeman's Mind, found on his channel called Accursed Farms. Scott's critique on the shutdown of online gaming has been captured in these quotes. Quote, assault on both consumer rights and preservation of media, end quote. That's according to rockpapershotgun.com from 2024. He is also on the record comparing the shutdown of online gaming to the destruction of silent films in that era of silent films. Fun fact, according to a September 2013 report published by the United States Library of Congress, some 70% of American silent feature films fall into this category of being destroyed after their time was up or deemed up by their publisher or the creator of the film. What does this have to do with games? Well, if this can happen to one art form, then it can to another, such as gaming. Films and gaming aren't terribly that far apart. Here's another quote made by Mr. Scott to PCGamer.com. Quote, burning their own films after they were done showing them to recover the silver content, end quote. He continues to say, quote, now most films of that era are gone forever, end quote. 70% to be precise, as I already stated. Now that we have that comparison, let's look further into another article I found that further explains SKG's demands. On August 1st, 2024, an article titled, If 1 Million People Sign Petition, a ban on rendering multiplayer games unplayable has a chance to become law in Europe, written by Christopher Livingston, which explains that SKG understands that publishers or the creators of these games cannot support games forever. It's just unreasonable, folks. Their solution to this is found in the European Citizens Initiative petition made by SKG in 2024, which states that they want publishers who plan to shut down their online games to provide, quote, the publisher with resources for the said video game once they discontinue it while leaving it in a reasonably functional, playable state, end quote. They want the publishers to provide the tools for players to host it on their own servers. A perfect example of an online game shutting down, yet providing its version for private servers after it sunsetted the video game, is the dodgeball video game called Knockout City. Knockout City proved that online games can indeed be passed along to the consumer in a positive way after a publisher decides to sunset it. I want to go ahead and sum up SKG. Stop Killing Games is a global coalition dedicated to combating the intentional destruction of video games when publishers shut down official servers. They argue that such practices undermine cultural preservation, as video games are a significant part of modern digital heritage. SKG advocates for consumer rights, emphasizing that when individuals purchase a game, they should retain lasting access without arbitrary expiration dates set by corporate interests. Their efforts extend beyond advocacy to include legal actions, with organized challenges in the US, EU, and other regions aimed at enforcing and expanding protections for digital media. Supporting legislation like California's Protect Our Games Act, SKG pushes for publishers to provide the necessary tools for games to remain functional. even after official support ends, citing examples like Knockout City as a model for successful game preservation. Now, let me read to you the Protect Our Game Act so you know what it entails. The CAB 1921, Act, or otherwise known as Protect Our Game Act, which was introduced by Assembly Member Chris Ward February 12, 2026. And according to legiscan.com, I'm going to go ahead and read the direct verbiage from the bill itself because it's important to know it, just how it is. Quote, this bill in regard to digital games available for purchase on or after January 1st, 2027, and subject to certain exceptions, would require a digital game operator to communicate specified information to purchasers and prospective purchasers of a digital game 60 days before the operator ceases to provide services necessary for the ordinary use of the game. And beginning on the date an operator ceases to provide services necessary for the ordinary use of the game. Require the operator to provide the purchaser with an alternate version of a patch or update to or refund for the game as provided, and prohibit the operator from selling, leasing, or otherwise distributing a version of the game that cannot be used by a purchaser independent of services controlled by the operator. The bill would authorize the Attorney General or a district attorney to bring a civil action for violation of these provisions, end quote. That is the proposal by the Protect Our Games Act. That I know it's very technical, folks. It's a lot of verbiage. Pretty much breaking it down. They have to provide 60 days. The operator does of the video game to warn people that it's going to be sunsetted, essentially, and they have to then provide means for it to continue on for the person that bought it after it's been sunsetted. Anyways, we'll get a little bit further into things here as I go. Now that we know that, let's see the position that the Entertainment Software Association takes. What is Entertainment Software Association exactly? According to the ESA.com, their official site, on our story page, quote, we have served as the voice and advocate for the United States video game industry since 1994. Our members are the innovators, creators, publishers, and business leaders reimagining entertainment and transforming how America plays. We help our members thrive in a complex political and policy environment, educating policymakers and regulators about the power of play and video games' positive impact on society. Video games have been one of America's favorite pastimes since long before the ESA, end quote. ESA is funded primarily by memberships. Some of the major corporations who are members of the ESA are Amazon, Atari, Bandai Namco, Capcom, Disney, Nintendo, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, Konami, Mattel, Microsoft, Netflix, Nintendo, ill Games, Roblox, Sony, Interactive Entertainment, PlayStation, Square Enix, Tencent Games, Ubisoft, Warner Bros. Games, Wizards. The world's biggest gaming and entertainment corporations have their stake in ESA. Now that we know the ESA's story and how they accrue their money, which is from an impressive list of mega corporations, let's see the ESA's stance on the Protect Our Games Act. ESA published an opinion piece on June 9th, 2026, titled Misguided California Bill Would Harm Video Game Maker Players, by ESA President, CEO Stan Pierre-Louis. Maybe it's Pierre-Louis, sorry. My French kicks in. Stan Pierre-Louis, the CEO of ESA and president. It's lengthy, folks, but I feel obligated to read this piece in its entirety to you because it is, to me, important to hear exactly how ESA feels about the Protect Our Games Act. I just feel like it is. Just in order to better understand their position. I know this is a long one, but I debated not reading this entire thing, but I'm going to. So if you're bored, just skip skip it out and through this entire opinion piece that they wrote, but it's an opinion piece by the president himself, so it is important. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. Quote, immersive online video games have transformed entertainment, bringing millions of players together from around the globe. But now a proposed California law is threatening the modern gameplay experience by misunderstanding how online services work. Under Assembly Bill 1921, the Protect Our Games Act, when a game publisher decides to shut down a quote-unquote server-connected digital game, developers would be forced to choose between keeping it running indefinitely, rebuilding the game to work without technical support, or providing a full refund to everyone, no matter how long ago they played or how much time they spent in that particular game. The legislation would apply to both new video games and existing games that are remastered or re-released. The bill, authored by Assembly member Chris Ward, Democrat from San Diego, intends to provide consumers with a guarantee that if they pay for access to play an online game, they will keep that access for as long as they want. But this bill shows a fundamental lack of knowledge about how games are built and maintained today. Behind every online game is an enormous invisible infrastructure. There are large teams working to uncover bugs, push product patches, and update game content. Moderators enforce codes of conduct to facilitate positive experiences for players, and servers designed to accommodate millions of players must be maintained. When a game's popularity fades, that infrastructure continues to run for a fraction of the audience at nearly the same cost. Additionally, many of today's popular games include licensed music, likeness rights, and branding that might be time limited. A legal requirement to keep games playable indefinitely will put game publishers in an impossible situation where they are either renegotiating licenses in perpetuity or altering games to change the creator's original intent and gameplay experience. This proposal essentially keeps games alive long after natural life cycle, draining resources and energy from creating what comes next. Every dollar spent on outdated systems is a dollar not spent on building a new one. Maintaining legacy systems is inefficient and expensive, and those costs get passed on to consumers. If every game becomes a permanent obligation, companies will make fewer of them, especially the ambitious online worlds that today's players love most. AB 1921 bill creates an entirely new, unprecedented category of consumer products. We don't expect innovators to continue supporting their very first car model, their original smartphone, or an outdated operating system software, but this bill suggests that online video games should last forever. This comes at great expense to the original creators and is in direct conflict with the basic principles of America's long-standing copyright laws. This bill may sound consumer-friendly, but ultimately hurts both players and creators. Many games today are live, connected experiences that depend on online communities and evolving content. Not to mention, nearly 2/3 of video game software companies in the U.S. operate with less than 10 employees. You cannot demand forever from video game developers without hampering their ability to create new games and provide the kinds of experiences players love and have come to expect. AB 1921 doesn't just misunderstand games, it undermines the very thing it claims to protect. End quote. There's the facts, folks, right there, long and lengthy. I know, I hope you're not asleep, but I told you, skip over that part. It was long, probably the longest quote I've ever read in Realm News history, but I felt it was necessary to get Mr. Pierre Lewis's, the president of ESA, statement conveyed clearly that they are absolutely against the AB 1921 bill that's trying to be passed. In a nutshell, yes, ESA argues that the Protect Our Game Act is a drain on resources to the publisher maintaining a dead game for eternity. They state that if games become quote-unquote permanent obligations, then companies have less incentive to create new ones. They compare the car industry to the digital gaming industry, asking, do you expect your first car model or original smartphone to keep being maintained and updated forever? Yes, they also use the smartphone industry. They argue, as an example, they argue that this bill is not friendly to the publisher of the game nor the consumer. They also say that every dollar used to maintain a game that has been sunsetted is being taken away from a future game. I'll leave all that up to you to decide if the Entertainment Software Association is correct in their opinion piece. Now, let's examine what happened on June 30th, 2026 at the Business, Professions, and Economic Development Committee, where 4 state senators voted in favor, 3 against, and 4 abstaining, resulting in the bill being halted for the time being to be later discussed on a yet-to-be-determined date. Prior to the vote, Assemblymember Chris Ward, remember him, was being questioned by the committee on the feasibility of carrying out this initiative, and he argued that the framework for this is already in place. He used the examples of Minecraft and Call of Duty and how they use community servers and how these can be the solution to games that are planned to be sunset. However, ESA's VP of State Government Affairs, Jennifer Gibbons, interrupted Ward by saying, quote unquote, they're illegal. Then continued to say, quote, they are not in any way affiliated with Microsoft. Microsoft, for Minecraft, has gone a lot of criticism because of those community servers not employing the same safety standards that Microsoft does on their Minecraft servers, end quote. A committee member then asked if these were akin to black market games. Ms. Gibbons responded by saying, quote unquote, yes, and then continued to say, quote, in fact, we consider it piracy. We have 2 pending lawsuits against private servers right now. And the United States Trade Representatives, USTR, in their Notorious Markets reports on counterfeiting and piracy, has named some of these big privacy servers as a notorious market, end quote, otherwise notorious for piracy. Soon after this statement made by Gibbons, a large backlash in the video game industry was created, and I mean a large one. Her statements were objectively false, and you can verify this yourself, folks. Realm News investigated further into the matter, and you can do so too by going to Minecraft.net's link titled Minecraft Usage Guidelines, which I will provide in the link there in the show description. So just go click on it. You will once there, you will see, after visiting the Minecraft usage guidelines page, that servers are welcome by Minecraft. They're absolutely welcome. We all know this, who plays Minecraft. They're integral to Minecraft. Here, Minecraft says this. I'm going to go ahead and quote Minecraft now. I know this is a quote-heavy episode, but it's worth capturing these things, folks. Quote, playing Minecraft with others is one of the best ways to play. You may host a server for Minecraft. You may even charge for access to the server as long as you follow the guidelines in this section. By quote-unquote server, we mean a single connecting address or IP number, end quote. Boom. I mean, it doesn't get more clear than that. Like, playing Minecraft with others is one of the best ways to play. You may host a server for Minecraft. That's a direct quote. A direct quote. Ms. Gibbons doesn't do her homework. They also say, Minecraft also says this on their page, quote, we want Minecraft to be a place where players can have fun and a trusted place to explore, build, and invest their time and money. Please use your common sense and discretion in creating a safe, fun, and trusted environment for all players. We reserve the right to decide if the way you are monetizing your server is consistent with our brand. In short, don't do evil things to players and you should be fine, end quote. I had to read you the facts. I just had to read those facts to you folks so you could hear Gibbons' claims on the public domain were completely false. Since her false statement were made, ESA has made a clarification, or I should say an attempt to soften or correct these false claims. Here is the latest statement made after the Senate committee hearing to PC Gamer. They sent these out to a variety of different, I guess I should say gaming outlets such as PC Gamer, IGN, and this is what they said. Quote, private servers that host or distribute copyrighted game content without authorization infringe on the intellectual property IP rights of game publishers. While publishers may take different approaches, all publishers reserve the right to exercise their rights against IP infringement. The provision in C8 AB 1921 that proposed these servers as a legitimate alternative to keep games running raises concerns about publishers' ability to enforce their IP rights. In addition, private servers operate with no oversight from the publisher and do not uphold the same trust and safety standards. This could create an unsafe environment for players and be counter to the industry's commitment to fostering safe and fun gameplay for all players, end quote. You can hear the stark difference in tone in this statement compared to Gibbons' brash, false statements made towards Minecraft. I will let you, the audience, digest this and determine what you think for yourselves. I'm not going to give you too much of my opinion on this. You'll have to wait till after the show. The California proposed Protect Our Games Act is still in the game, though, folks. Pun intended there, too. Although it was halted in this last Senate committee hearing, it will have the chance to be heard again. And SKG is entrenching hard on that. They're trying to garner much more support in the meantime. I think they'll succeed, honestly. But anyways, Realm News will be there to report on all this in the future. That is all I have on today's Realm News Flash Report, folks. I don't even have this upcoming Thursday's clip. Again, it's a holiday here. I know that this was not exactly all about Minecraft, like 100%, about like the new Snapshot 2, which was just technical stuff, but it was at the same time important to Minecraft. Minecraft is directly mentioned as an example of a pirated game by Gibbons, which is a lie. This bill directly impacts our beloved game, and that is the reason this report is important and had to be made. Unfortunately, I did not have enough time to squeeze in more news, but for now, I also have to mention all the servers out there are fine. No panic, don't panic. You can still get on multiplayer and everything is good. Nothing's been official yet. Nothing's been legally passed yet. So keep playing and have fun. However, if you are a Patreon member, any member tier, stay tuned to after the COA here, where I will provide my opinion piece over today's topic. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, folks. I know there's a lot of quotes, a little bit technical, but this was important to hear. I'll see you all there after the show for the opinion piece. And for the rest of you, until next time, keep informed and happy crafting. The Dark Lord, signing out. Hey, Realm News fans, it's your host, the Dark Lord, the one who puts the real in Realm and expands your mind one block at a time. I am here to tell you that your support means everything. Spread the word by telling friends, liking, and commenting on Spotify or Good Pods. Find me on X, Blue Sky, Reddit, or via email at bio.link/Realm News. For more content, join my Patreon at the Copper tier for early episodes, bonus content, and newsletters. Find out more at bio.link/Realm News. No pressure, though. Just keep listening, liking, and sharing. That's more than enough. Happy crafting, and see you at the next Realm News.